My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the core and the core, and anyone interested in not only surviving but thriving as a Pilates instructor. Helps if you can drink. There's just 4 things on my list today, and the first one is a quote, and I don't have much elaboration on it other than to say, I look forward to seeing you again. I look forward to seeing you again. Number 2, MMP explains why, what, how, when, where, except I can't think of really about how to apply where. It makes me sad that there's very little explanation about what Pilates is that has any substance to the explanation. Okay? I mean, I have unbounded respect and admiration for Romana, but when Romana says stretch and strength and whatever, right? It's just a few words, and I know it's poetic and it applies and all that, but it doesn't explain. And so all I can do is suggest to you that MMP has a particular point of view, and in that point of view it's very easy to explain what Pilates is. Now whether someone accepts the explanation or not, that's up to them, right? What is Pilates? It refers to a guy's name. He was a survivor. He developed a method. It's survival training. It's conditioning and training to be ready to handle whatever comes up. It's the 3 things out of Joe's book that MMP stands on. So Pilates is Joe's definition of what it is. And most importantly, he called it contrology. He didn't call it Pilates. And so that immediately establishes the target or what we're after or why we do it. We want control. And contrology is the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. Those are 3 words, body, mind, and spirit, meaning 3 things, body, mind, and spirit. And in MMP, it takes those 3 words and makes them being, thinking, and observing. So spirit is observing. It's not spiritual. It's not philosophical. It's merely paying the kind of attention that Joe asks for when he writes about being fully concentrated on the purpose of the exercise. Even better than a definition is a sensation. And from the MMP point of view, fundamentally, Pilates is experiential. You can feel it. And in feeling it, there is a state of being in the body in the moment of the doing that you can sense, and that is the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. It's easy and so why we do it is for control. What it is an experience while pursuing a choreography, meaning a sequence of movements. Joe's mat. That's the how too, I guess. How do you experience Pilates? Well, you have to do the moves. And so, to me, the definition of the ideal, so I believe there's an ideal within the work. You don't have to. But for me, in the experience of it and wanting to know more and needing to know more, it became to me obvious that there's some kind of an essence within the original work, and if that's true and it has an essence, then there's an ideal to it. So what is Pilates? Well, Pilates is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. It's an experience of that in the moment, right? So that's the when, in terms of when does this happen? It always happens in the now. And why is that? Because spirit is observing, and if you're not observing, it can't be Pilates. Within the definition of complete coordination of those three things, I mean, if you want to take spirit into some other interpretation and blend it into the word spiritual, and that all becomes mental and interpretive, it might be that the more you generalize or abstract or leave out this notion of spirit, or the word spirit in Joe's definition, Joe writes that without this complete concentration being focused on the purpose of the exercise, the pursuit would be meaningless. So within MMP, there's definitely an answer to what is Pilates. It comes straight from Joe, his definition. And if you want the ideal, best I can explain the ideal or define the ideal is uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement. And that's in three parts: uniform eccentric loading. Uniform because Joe says contrology develops the body uniformly. Eccentric because Joe talks about controlling the middle or the center and moving out from there. And that's the way the body engages itself and makes an eccentric effort, a lengthening effort. Loading, the body takes on more of its own weight in space as you progress through the exercises. Flowing through, and you have to flow through, because if you're not flowing, somehow it's really tough to have observing participate. You have to press the flow to find the fusion, because until you press the flow, the thinking occupies all the air in the room. And then progressive patterns is flexion, extension, side bending, rotation, and torsion. That's progressing and capable in control through idealized planes in space. 3D space. So how I explain Pilates is straight from Joe. And I encourage you to have at least that connection and ability to define Pilates straight from Joe with whatever else you think of as Pilates, right? Because it will give you a firm foundation when people assail you and say, well, that's not Pilates. And see, so how many times have I said the mat is the method? which is totally true, right? Just the mat, just do the mat. You don't have to understand anything, but by the time your body can flow through the exercises of the mat work with any degree of control, to the depth of control that you have, Pilates is doing the mat. And if it's not the mat, then it's doing some sequence of movements that's resonant to the original work. And so really, see, Pilates is the mat. Pilates is a sequence of movements. So it's really tough to look at one exercise and say whether or not that's Pilates or not. Because it might be a Pilates exercise, but it will stand out more clearly as Pilates once you see the next exercise, to see if it maintains integrity in the pattern that exists in Joe's original work. So in MMP, there's pieces that fit together. There's body, mind, and spirit that are coordinated. And those are capacities within the human being. In MMP, there are pieces that fit together. Pieces like the experience that you're after with the sequence of movements you're going through. So the mat work and the target of the experience So in my title, I have that as the mat and the mindset. So you do the mat with the mindset, and that's Pilates. Number 4 is control. The target is control. See, calling it Pilates and losing Joe's name for his method, contrology, loses focus on the target of control. Right? Control. And as a Pilates instructor, knowing what your target is can really help you focus your instructions to garner the control that you're seeking, either in your own performance or that of your student, or students, or school, right? Or company. So in summary, I look forward to seeing you again. When it comes to saying what is or isn't Pilates, everyone has a point of view. Everybody. And it's all based on their experience and from that experience what they've incorporated Pilates to be within the simulation that they have running inside themselves, their mind, of what reality is like out there. Right? MMP defines Pilates by looking at Joe's definition, his statement about uniform development, and the sequence of the mat exercises, right? That's Pilates, assuredly. Now, the further you get away from that, the further you get away from what I believe to be an essence within Joe's original work, that is there for you to discover and acknowledge on your own, and only if you choose to. When it comes to MMP, Pilates is an ideal, and it's striving for that ideal that allows you to disappear into the effort, into that complete coordination as an experience in the moment. And the more familiar you are with being able to explain what is Pilates, at least through the MMP point of view, because that view is pretty clear and pretty solid. It's like acrylic, right? You can see right through it, but it has substance. And as an instructor, I had a great conversation today with a lovely instructor who, when I asked her about the status of the Pilates culture and she saw it, she said, I don't care. I don't look at any of that other stuff, and there's so much in the original work that I don't feel the need to go beyond that in what I'm doing with my students. Big, big studio, other teachers, all that, right? But knowing the vocabulary gives you enough words. Knowing the grammar allows you to express yourself through a language. But life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. Ignore construction noises throughout the summer. And by all means, Geist.